So today I want to talk about, kind of dealing with like the health of, like mental health of being a man, and the concept of being a man is whatever, but in regards, somebody of male identity, and my relation to it and dealing with the constant pressure of needing to be strong in a relationship, bottling up emotions, stuff like that, Mainly because it's like there's, at least in my experience, I realize that the pressure to always just be a strong person for other people to lean on, you will often neglect your own, not really needs, but like things that may be bothering you for the sake of someone else, because you've been raised that you need to be a strong person. And is that Dry Creek Wrangler school, the guy who does the videos, I remember saying like you need to stand in the doorway and take the beating as a man so that those behind you don't have to, and I mean that's fair if you're someone who wants to, but that expectation is really honestly unhealthy for people who just can't do that, you know. So, in my own relationship, I was dating somebody who was very dependent and shy, and was not a very self-sufficient person, And it was established very early on that I needed to be, as a strong person in a relationship, and I wanted to be that. I was fine with that, but over time, it developed into me failing to being able to say certain things because it was like, oh, this isn't what a strong person can do. You're not supposed to be anxious or whatever. And it's just like I don't feel like I had a healthy relationship with trying to be a strong person while also being somebody who could be vulnerable. It's just like, men, you're not supposed to cry. You're supposed to protect the women and children and all those things. It's just I don't always feel strong enough to do that. Like I'm sorry, I'm not a stand up person. I'm a very small individual. I'm not very strong. I don't go to the gym or anything. So it's like what I'm not intimidating, but so dealing with somebody who was so weak as an individual. Weak isn't the right word, but it's the best one that I have right now. I found myself hiding anxiety that I had, concerns I had, for the sake of not triggering that person's anxiety because they were relying on me to be a strong, confident person. Like if you show that you're anxious or you're worried about something, then they're going to be worried about it, and so you can avoid that entirely by just not mentioning it and keeping it with yourself. And I feel like if I didn't develop that habit, maybe I'd be better as a partner. There were times in which I could have done certain things, I could in public scenarios to I feel like make like my partner feel more appreciated or validated, or like I was somebody who was anxious to do public displays of affection or act a certain way in certain places. And it wasn't just like in person, it was online too. My partner would give me so many comments on like profiles, and I would just not respond to them because I felt like awkward doing it. It was like, oh no, my friends are gonna see that I'm in an obsessive relationship and I'm gonna be judged for it. Or like in other servers where like my partner would just send like random things or like say hi to me, and I just didn't say anything because I was like, oh no, this makes me feel uncomfortable to do it publicly. And it's just like, Why should that matter? What these random people do at the end of the day? It's like that's one thing about anxiety. But I never felt like I could talk to my partner about that because it was like I'm supposed to be the strong one here to be somebody who can't handle all doing certain public displays of affection. It's like, bruh, like I don't know. I feel like I'm just not the type of person men are supposed to be, and being unable to verbalize it in a very well, or feel like I should verbalize it and say hey, I don't feel like I'm good at this, maybe I do something different. It would have been better for me to do that, but again, I felt the need to hide that and just go like it's whatever, or just ignore it, and that's not good to do. That's an avoidant thing to do, and that's a very bad, very very toxic attachment style. And it be when you are somebody who wants to be the strong person for someone else, you kind of and you finally get there and you feel like you're doing it, you become so attached to doing that, you end up with the irony that you feel like you're the one becoming dependent on taking care of this person rather than the other person the other way around. Or maybe they are still dependent on you. You get that codependency, but you don't always realize it. I didn't realize how much that person did for me until that person was gone. I mean, when they're just gone, it just hits you. So many things you improve about yourself for that person. Like I got better at cooking. I tried all sorts of recipes for myself. Um, I tried going to the gym more. I did many things that weren't for myself, but for someone else, to make myself better for that person, because I wanted to be somebody who could take care of them. I never cared about taking care of myself. I maybe that's bad, but throughout my entire life, I've never really felt. I never cared about how I look. I never cared about my outfits, my fashion. I never cared about taking care of my body. It was just never there. I didn't value it, and I only got value from another person. And so I end up in this position where I become a dependent person, ironically, to do things that are normal to other people. And it's just, it feels like it's this really complex, um, this very complex like meshing of masculine standards and being mentally unwell that creates this situation. It's like, yeah, as a man, I should be strong, and I want to be, but I'm not always like that. It takes me a lot of time to warm up and to feel like I can do those things, because over time I was getting better at being public and being affectionate that way. I was, but it was a slow process, and people will expect you to be able to do that from the start. You're just supposed to be that way, especially if you're advertising yourself as being that way like I did. And I wish that there wasn't this issue with mental health, and where I didn't feel the need to bottle this stuff up. I wish I could talk about it. And towards the end of our relationship, I started talking about some of my dependency, because I was able to kind of like realize it, where my partner was going to go to a summer camp. One of the people who take care of children who are in like a summer camp, and they were going to be gone for a couple months, and they weren't going to have good internet access or anything. So I was like just casually saying, I'm worried about going through that. And, I realize after the fact when my partner talks about how they can't spend time with friends and family anymore without worrying about me, and how I started talking about, oh, I think I know it's gonna be hard for me when you're gone for a couple months with a little contact, and I kind of just realized that, oh yeah, it makes sense why it ended at this time, because that was gonna be really hard, and me just coming out and saying, yeah, I think I'm gonna be so anxious about it. It's not good. And so the one time where I do finally try, saying, hey, I do kind of realize I'm a little dependent, it goes it completely backfires, because I'm not supposed to be like that. I'm supposed to be strong and independent and always someone that people can lean on. So like, what do I do? I don't know. I need to become, a stronger person who can deal with these things, but it's just hard for me to. I struggle so much to improve myself for me, as well as for other people. I guess it's like chasing validation. And I wish it was easier for me to talk about being weaker. I wish there was more expectations of men to, be more vulnerable, that it would be okay to do these things. I wish I never felt this way, I get better with time, as I get older, but still, it's just so exhausting to find out in the end everyone still expects you to be strong. You're not supposed to be vulnerable in that way. And when you fail over it, especially with somebody that means so much to you, it really messes you up. I've been very messed up from this, and I wish that, yeah, there were just healthier expectations, But yeah, is it really just me who, like, it's such a Gen Z thing to say where, oh, I'm special, I'm the only one suffering in this way, and it's like, I don't mean it that way. It's more just this, like, circumstance where you end up sabotaging something that you really wanted because of the toxic masculinity mixed with an anxious partner. Like, how do people navigate this stuff? I don't know. Again, I just put my thoughts out there because maybe somebody will gain something from it. I don't think I'm special, but it's more I realize that if I never put it out there, nobody will ever see it, and so I have to put it out there, and that's why I want to talk about this, because yeah, mental health and men's health has been something I've had to deal with a lot. My dad is somebody who's very oblivious to mental health. He's always just work, and be a go-getter, and just power through it. And I'm proud of him for being able to do that. But I personally, I can't do that. I haven't developed that ability yet. Maybe I will one day, but I question whether I even should aim to gain that ability. He's clearly unhappy. His marriage has not gone the way I think he wanted it to. And so it's like, I don't think I should work towards that. Even if I do become capable of it one day, I don't want to be that way. And but that's that's what's expected of a lot of men still, especially dealing with like dating, and if I ever do try dealing with somebody other than that person, in the dating world, I realize I'm gonna have to face this again, and I don't know if I'm ready to. I don't know if I want to. I'm not that strong of a person, especially after this. I realize how dependent me actually turned out to be, and then ironically, I'm gonna end up being the one who is leaving from a lack of needs being met and an ability to exist on my own. It's the ultimate irony. But yeah, that's all I really have to talk about right now. You know, I hope you guys have a good day or night, evening, and hopefully you guys are finding the willpower to keep going. You know, take care.